Hey friends, welcome to Freedom Ranch Homestead. So glad that you could join me today. So I am very, very excited to share this video with you guys. I had the privilege of going down to Charleston, South Carolina a couple weeks ago to meet up with a friend of mine that I had not seen in years. And her name is Moira Kucaba, and she interviewed me for her awesome podcast. And I wanted to share it with you guys. The name of her podcast is The High Vibe Life, and it is done very, very well. She is an amazing person to listen to and has so much wealth of knowledge to share with people and interviews some amazing people as well. Moira is also a high-performance life coach and has empowered so many women over the years. She has also been a huge inspiration to me. So this was a really fun experience to be able to sit down with her and share all about what we have been doing here the last couple years on the ranch, and also to discuss our nonprofit, the Refuge at Freedom Ranch. She and I both come from alcohol addicted backgrounds, and so we share a little bit more about that and what Chuck and I hope to do with the Refuge as far as breaking the generational cycle of addiction. So enjoy the video. I will be sure to put all of Moira's information down below if you want to check out her podcast, listen to all the wonderful nuggets of goodness that she shares with people. You can also check out her Instagram and her website as well. So enjoy the video, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. Well, welcome back to the show. I have my dear friend, Brooke Anderson, in the house today. It hasn't been 25 years since we've seen each other.
No, just since we've met. Really?
25 years.
Dang, where has time gone?
How old are we? Are we like giving away our age? Holy crap.
Well, we met when we were 20, or when we were
two.
Two, exactly.
No, we met when I got sober when I was 21, 1999. Let's bring it back, Prince.
Yep.
And you were?
I was 29.
29.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It's been a long road, but it's been a beautiful road full of ups and downs and all around.
Indeed. But it's been a long time, especially since we've seen each other. Like we were discussing that last night. It's been about 12 years.
That blows my mind. So I walked into the house last night. I was like, how long's it been? Brooke's like 12 years. I was like, what? Yeah. Like, what happened? We had kids.
That's we had kids. Life got really busy and really crazy. Busy. Yeah, but good.
Yeah.
You know? So now that they're getting a little older, we can reconnect a little more.
Exactly.
Which is a good thing. So,
and why you're here, why I had to bring her on the show is because she's got this crazy life that, like, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. So I want to give you guys the backstory. So, we met when we were living in San Diego, California, La Jolla specifically.
Yep.
And Brooke grew up there.
Yep.
And I feel like you literally were like Elle Woods growing up. Not really, like not your personality, but like growing up in La Jolla, California. It's like, it is straight up like Beverly Hills 90210.
Yeah. It was definitely a unique space to grow up in. And it wasn't quite as crazy, back then as it is now, but it was a little bit warped. We lived in a bubble there, and it was different. It was gorgeous. I mean, how fortunate, to be able to just go to the beach, have a view of the beach from school, and just live life there. Was really nice. So.
I mean, it's still like my favorite place on earth. Like La Jolla, California we will, like, hand to heart, we will be spending more time there in my lifetime.
Yeah,
at some point. But now,
big change.
Like, first of all, and we're not going to go into the whole story. We're going to go into parts of it. But you ended up in Raleigh.
Yes.
How many years ago?
About 20 years ago.
Okay.
I met my husband, got married, had kids.
Yeah.
And just got settled into the suburban life there and raising the kids. It was a perfect place to raise kids.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of friends in the neighborhood, and the kids went out and played. It was like ideal.
Yeah.
It was ideal. And the bottom line is, I knew I didn't want to raise my kids in California, and so that's why I eventually left, and then fortunately met my husband soon after, and started the whole process. But I wanted them to have a little bit more of a down to earth lifestyle growing up.
And that's honestly no judgment against California, because it is truly like my favorite place on earth.
Beautiful.
And I feel, I'm trying not to go off on too many tangents here, I feel most alive in California. I feel like so aligned with my spirit. But I didn't want to raise kids there either. But I even remember being like, how is Brooke living in Raleigh, North Carolina?
Yeah.
Like, that's such a departure from the world she grew up in. But now, so drum roll, bring it to kind of present tense and why I want to have this conversation today. You moved to literally the middle of nowhere. And I say the middle of nowhere.
It's the middle of nowhere.
Like, not even power lines, water, electricity. There was nothing.
Nothing.
In
Zero.
the hills,
except a gorgeous view.
In the hills of Virginia.
Virginia, yeah.
Would you call
them
the
Blue Ridge
mountains?
Mountains? They are the Blue Ridge Mountains.
The Blue Ridge Mountains.
Yeah, we're at about 2,600 feet. And we wanted to escape Raleigh to get out of the heat because it was way too hot in the summertime.
California girl.
No, I wanted something that was just a little bit milder,
Yeah.
So, and my husband grew up in Wisconsin, in central Wisconsin on a farm. And so he always knew he wanted to have land, to have property that he could manage. He was a forester to begin with in his career. And so whenever we would drive up to Wisconsin every summer, we would pass through this area in Virginia and just fell in love with it. Just absolutely so beautiful. And he wanted to move back to Wisconsin, but it was just, I mean, you talk about a major transition. The winters would have killed me there.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is where we settled on. We found our dream piece of property, and it has been an adventure.
Well, to say the least. Let me tell you my glimpse into the adventure.
Okay.
So you purchased 200, how many acres?
285 acres.
285 acres. So
in October of 2020. So during COVID.
During COVID. Okay, well, that makes a little bit more sense now. So we keep in touch over the years. We see each other on and off. We saw each other more before kids. We saw each other while we had kids. But then, we both got really busy. So we always kind of kept tabs on each other. But literally all of a sudden, I'm like, wait, what is happening? Through the lens of social media, my bestie Brooke, who was you were supposed to be in my wedding, but you were popping out a baby. So we were that close. I was like, she was in Raleigh, and now I see her on a mountaintop building a yurt. It was literally an HGTV show that I was watching transpire, which you should be getting your own HGTV show.
Oh, you're so sweet.
For real. But I'm like, what is happening? She's living in a yurt. She's building
a log home.
It was the 1800s.
It was, yeah. It really, truly was. And yeah.
It's crazy. So can we go back to, let's start with what in the world led you to make that decision for your family?
Yeah. So, my husband and I knew we wanted some property.
Yeah.
But it was going to be for our retirement. And so he was constantly searching for land in Virginia is where we decided that we would look. And this one piece of property had popped up, and we decided, well, we'll go take a look at it. And it was the second piece of property that we had looked at. And the first one I was like, nah, not so keen.
Yeah.
But the moment I saw this view, I was in tears. I'm like, this is it. And then we got to hike the trails. I mean, because they had logged this piece of property in the 80s. And so there are roads all through it. It's all grown back up now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just huge trees. And I wanted a place where I could go outside and hike and not see a single soul.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was just absolutely beautiful. And so we would come up on the weekends with the kids and camp, and we started.
So at this point, you're thinking retirement and
once the kids graduated from high school.
Yes, yeah.
Exactly. And so it was not. We were going to build a little log home for us to stay in when we came up on the weekends, and the summer of 2021, actually it was springtime, my son started saying, God, I really wish we lived up there, Mom. And he was 16 at the time. And
which says a lot for a 16-year-old.
He wanted to get out of the city. He definitely loves the outdoors. And so
I love that you refer to Raleigh as the city now.
I know. Well, it is. It's gotten really big. It's a very popular city now. But it was definitely very different still than San Diego.
Yeah.
And so, we kind of pondered the question. And so we started looking into having a house built and on the property, just a small one. And the cost was astronomical because it was during COVID. The lumber prices were huge. And so we weren't sure if we were going to be able to make the move. And then my husband came up with the idea, because he used to be a forester. He was like, how about we log our own trees? We cut our trees down.
Thank goodness.
Sure, why not?
Thank goodness he has some experience in this field.
Yeah.
Literally.
So we would go up there, we'd start cutting some trees down, and then it just became too dangerous. He didn't have a long enough saw for the thing. So we're like, let's get a logger in here. And then we started working with a builder and trying to find timeline. And we're like, okay, kids' school starts August 9th because we decided, okay, we're going to get out of the city. Our daughter was kind of struggling a little bit. And we're like, let's just
And
move
she was
up
how old at this point?
She was 12.
Okay.
And
So
she
12 and 16.
hated camping. Like she just... Yeah, she was not into it at all.
She was not on board.
No, she was not on board. But she was starting to go down a path that we were realizing that she needed a change of scenery and a change of lifestyle and change of friendships. She was getting a little bit of bullying or being bullied. And so by the time it was ready for them to go to school, we did not have still anything up there. We had no electricity, no running water, nothing to live in. So,
but you were there during the summer.
We were there on the weekends.
Okay, gotcha.
We built a shed, an 18 by 12 foot shed that we would camp in that side of that when the weather was not very good.
At that point,
we were camping. Yeah, we were definitely roughing it. And so when it came time for them to come to school, we were like, okay, well, why don't we just get an Airbnb in town?
Right.
Because there were no rentals. Like there's no apartment buildings up there. There's no condos. It's very remote because there's nothing up there except a lot of farmland. You know. A lot of cows. It's gorgeous. The rolling hills, spectacular. But so when I was looking at listings for the for rentals, I saw that there were a lot of yurts in the area, and I had never heard of a yurt. I'd never seen one.
Yeah, I only see them when it comes to glamping.
Yes, it's very much glamping.
Pretty much what you did.
It's pretty much what we did. So I said to my husband, I said, why don't we construct a yurt? Live in that for a couple months while we have this log home builder shape our logs, start the building process of our log home. And he was like, well, I see it as a good investment because we can rent it out, once we move in. It'll only be in it for like 4 months.
I mean, my mind is blown. Like this conversation between you and him, like, is so out of my norm.
Yeah, and he always laughs about it because here the city girl suggested we live in a yurt. Like it was, I was like, but it's all about the adventure, So we
with 2 children starting school, like it's not just a romantic, newly married yurt experience. This is like with the kids, and it was really challenging. We constructed the yurt in one day. I mean, literally, we had someone build the deck because we knew we couldn't do that and it needed to be done quick. Yeah.
And then we put the yurt up in one day, and so it was just a big circus tent. It's about 700 square feet. Wow. It's 30 feet in diameter.
Wow.
And then the center point, the side walls are like 7 feet high, and then the center point's really tall. So while the kids were in school, we were trying to make it livable and put in a bathroom and build a kitchen. Like we built all the cabinets which there weren't really cabinets, but all the wood that we had harvested, we used that for the interior portion of the yurt.
Which all of this is on YouTube.
Yes.
All of this.
Yes.
Thank goodness you documented this just for your own experience.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to the YouTube channel in a minute.
Yes.
But it's all of this.
Everything is documented.
It's so crazy.
From the moment we saw the land to like the present day. And so we lived in that yurt for 2 years. Like we were.
And I need to say it is spectacular what you can do with a yurt.
It's
like if you're
nice.
Listening and you're like, what in the world?
I love it.
They lived in a tent for 2 years. It was, fully functioning kitchens, bathrooms, the whole thing.
Yes.
Insane.
Yeah. My husband and I had a bedroom. We had a bathroom down below. Bree, we built a loft, so she slept upstairs, and then my son lived in the shed that we had built. We got him Wi-Fi, electricity. Yeah. He just didn't have running water or a bathroom, so he would come down. He'd come down to the house for that. And then the last year that we were in it, we actually even had a foreign exchange student living with us. So, that's a whole nother crazy story. But from South Korea, he came and lived with us. So
what an American experience!
Yeah, I know. He's like from Seoul, Korea, and he's like out in the country for the very first time, living in a yurt in a shed.
Oh
so
my gosh.
It was pretty fun. But I tell you what, Moira, I never thought. Because we had a pretty decent sized home in Raleigh.
Yeah.
And we all would just do our separate things. And I never thought that living in 700 square feet, I thought we're going to kill each other.
Yeah.
And my husband worked from home. Oof. So he was doing business calls all day long in the yurt, and I thought we're going to kill each other. But the fact of the matter is that we grew so close.
Yeah.
And when my stepson Christian would come into town with his girlfriend, they would stay up in the loft with Bree. And we had some of the best times there. So it was, even though it was small and it was a bit uncomfortable, freezing in the wintertime. My husband's a phenomenal fire builder. We had a little wood oven stove in there to heat things up. And so we really roughed it for 2 years, and the whole time we're building our log home.
Yeah,
and
which probably is the only thing. Knowing like how the brain works, because I study a lot of that. It's like the thing that probably kept you able to stay in that situation was progress.
Yes.
Right? Like every day the kids are coming home and something's new, something's different, something's a little bit better, something's a little bit more functional.
Yeah.
And so you're swept up in the excitement of that, which makes anything you're living in bearable.
Yes.
You know?
It's very true. It's very true. To know that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, that this wasn't going to be forever. And even actually, looking back on it, even if it had been forever, I think we would have been okay. Like it's not, it was definitely an eye-opening experience that you don't need a McMansion to be happy, that you could live in just the basics and really enjoy your life and have fun, Which
we can all take a note out of that book. Yeah. I have had 2 experiences. I can remember we used to go to my in-laws' lake house, which was, I don't even know, maybe 1,000 square feet. So it would be my in-laws, my husband and I, our kids, like a lot of people in a little bit space. Yeah. And it was our happiest times, and life was so simple.
Yes.
And then when we moved into probably a 1,200 square foot, 2 dogs, 2 kids, when we were building, like 4 forks, I brought 4 forks, 4 knives, 4 plates, 4 bowls, like super simple. Mm-hmm. We always say you could eat dinner, fold laundry, and, cook dinner and watch TV at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was all within almost like an arm's touch reach.
Yeah.
And it was so awesome.
Yeah.
It was so awesome.
Yeah, except we didn't have a laundry machine. I had to go to the laundromat every week, which was an hour away,
Gosh. Wow. So you go from the yurt for 2 years. Mm-hmm. Does your daughter, who was 12 and now 14, what happens with her journey of acceptance?
She realized it wasn't as bad as she thought it was going to be. And she fortunately, the county that we lived in, she was going into 8th grade, and they don't have a middle school.
It's a tough time to change schools, especially for a girl.
Well, fortunately, it was the beginning of high school there.
Oh, perfect.
So they went 8th through senior year. So it was a perfect time for her because all of the 8th graders were new to the environment. So she just kind of like
slid in.
Melded in. And my son was a junior, but he was the new kid, know, and he's very attractive. So he had no problem,
Boys.
Yep, I know. They have a lot of lead. But anyway, so Bree, she has engulfed herself in the environment and has transformed herself into this beautiful country girl who, is very much into her horses and has just she's blossomed. It's been the best move we could have ever made for her and for my son Gabe. He is really transformed by it as well. He just loves the property and I think he wants to live on it when he gets older and have a family and stuff.
Well, there's space.
There is a lot of space.
He can do that.
Oh yeah, we can build him a home. We know how to build homes now.
Oh my gosh. Well, and I think the most important thing with that is you having, because it's a lot of what I talk about on the show, those whisper moments where you listen to that whisper the first time you were on that property, the first time you had those, chill bumps and tears come to your eyes. And then you probably immediately have fear.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
How would we do this? What about my kids? And then you have a kid kicking back on it, which makes all of that knowingness fade.
Yes.
But you didn't allow that to happen. Mm-hmm. You stuck to the knowingness and the call. And it ends up in this beautiful, beautiful place that I know that you could have never foreseen.
Yeah.
And so often I think that's what God calls us to do. It's you need to step out in faith. And I always say, I like to think I know what the plan is, but I also am always I have no idea what the plan is. But at least I can grasp onto maybe an idea. Mm-hmm. But his plan's always better than ours.
It is. It truly is. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We have worked our tail off the last 3 years to make this ranch, a functioning ranch with a lot of animals and infrastructure, and we're still working, we're still trying to solve our water problem, and because that's been a complete nightmare for us. But
what is on the property now?
So
in
we
regards
have
to like structures and animals.
So we have, as far as structures go, we have the shed, which we call Grumpy's Garage, dedicated to Chuck's dad, which is where we first would stay in. We have the yurt. We have our log home. Which is almost complete. We just put in the hardwood floors on the second story last week. So that's done. Yeah.
So a 2-story log wood home that you built yourself.
Yes. Well,
like with your family, pretty much.
We did. We hired a contractor to do the basement, to pour the concrete. We hired a log home builder to shape the logs and stack them. And then the contractor who did the basement put the roof on and framed out the walls, because we were like, we don't have any construction background, but we wanted to do as much as we could on ourselves. So then we came in. I learned how to tile showers. I've learned how to the hardwood floors. We chinked between all the logs, which is like putting all the cement in. That was my least favorite job. That took forever.
Yeah,
because we had to do the inside and the back.
A lot of things that would be my least favorite.
I know.
Job. Like, what is she doing? This is insane.
I keep telling my husband, I'm like, because if we have, there's another part of the property that we really wanted our main retirement home to be on, which is at the very top with the view.
Yeah.
And he wants to have the same kind of home at the top. And I said, I am not chinking. And he's like, yeah, we'll see about that when it comes. He jokes around, like, you'll be doing it. I'm like, no, hard, no, get it now.
Yes.
No more chinking.
That ship has sailed.
It is, yeah. I had my one time, one and done. So we have that. We have an outhouse that one of the other things that we first built. We have
but you do have a regular bathroom in the house.
We do. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We have three nice bathrooms.
Okay, got it.
Yes, with beautiful showers that I tiled, and so it's very functional. Now it's a home.
Yeah.
It's truly a house. Like it wouldn't be. It's a very rustic, kind of cabin-looking home, which we love. It's very cozy, very inviting. People come in and they just want to like completely chill out and relax. It's got a gorgeous view, wraparound deck. It's really nice. But we also have a chicken coop. Part of the chicken coop, we first built a huge solar kiln to dry the logs, which was a complete fail. So we turned it into a chicken coop. And then we have a hog pen. And now all fencing all around the pastures. I mean, that was huge.
That's huge.
Yep. We just built a huge hay barn, or had somebody build that one. That one just realized we don't have time. We need to get our hay stored. And then we're working on the stuff down in the back, this other property for our nonprofit. So that's what we have right now.
Cows?
Oh, yes. Okay. So the animals. We have 4 horses.
Okay.
We have...
And Bree rides?
Bree rides. So 2 of them are her riding horses so that she competes on. And the other 2 are kind of rescues.
Yeah.
And one of the 2, Trip, he's a paint. He's a little dangerous. So nobody rides Trip. He's a little scary. There. He's there because, we love him. He's like a 7-year-old boy. He's just wild. And then we have 10 head of cattle. And we have 5 heifers, or the females, and 3 of them are pregnant again. Wow. So we have a couple of calves that are roaming around with them that we had last winter. We have 2 huge hogs. We used to have like 14 of them, but we've narrowed it down, and these guys are between 500 and 600 pounds each. And we're expecting piglets very soon. So they're so cute. We'll love them.
Oh my God.
Tons of chickens, 3 sheep. And then soon to have goats, and hopefully some lambs from the sheep. I think the girls are pregnant. So.
And dogs, of course.
2 dogs, 3 cats. Yep. So
what does a day in the life look like? There's lots of jobs probably that have to be...
Yes.
Things that have to be done on a daily basis.
Yeah, daily basis is pretty much you go out and just take care of the animals. You feed them, make sure they have the water, make sure they're okay. And that really takes maybe like an hour, depending. And then the rest of the day, I do most of the finished construction work on the house now because my husband still works full time.
Yeah.
He's not retired. And a lot of people on social media be like, oh, it must be nice to have all this money. I'm like, we're still working to pay this down. Like it hasn't been easy. And so he works from home. And so that can be a little tricky when I'm trying to use the chop saw or the table saw and, right outside of his office door and stuff. But we make it work.
Yeah.
And, and then, my daughter does a lot of writing and it's very peaceful. It's a very peaceful place. It's beautiful. So.
How often are you getting out? Because obviously it's probably so magical to just be home and on property, but then there's probably also this itch of like, oh,
yes,
I need to see some people.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So the closest town is about a half hour away. Okay. There's two. We're kind of in the middle of these two towns, but the one we mainly go to and where the kids went to school is called Floyd, Virginia. And it is a cute little, so Floyd County is huge. And then there's the town of Floyd, and there's one stoplight. Wow. So that's it for the whole county. And so it's a really adorable, artistic town. Wow, so they've got some great shops in there, and it's a lot of tourists, a lot of music, bluegrass music.
That's crazy that they have all that with one stoplight.
It's huge. Yeah, the summertime, people love coming to Floyd. They have a thing called Floyd Fest every year, where it's just a huge outdoor concert for the weekend, and so it's a popular town, but it's very small.
Yeah,
and so you have a food line there to get groceries, and that's about it. So otherwise, we go to Christiansburg or Blacksburg, where Virginia Tech is, and that's where we have most of our main things. Shopping stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. Or Roanoke, which is about an hour and a half away.
Wow.
So I think that for me, that was kind of the biggest adjustment with moving to the country is the conveniences were gone.
And I feel like that's just our society today. It's like, that's just how we've adapted. You know, we've adapted to this norm of like extreme convenience. I mean, dare I say that I Ubered like a green juice and some avocado toast yesterday morning. You know, I was like,
Moira,
I shouldn't be doing this, but I am because I was working. You know,
Yep.
But to have none of that, right? The only thing you really have is Amazon.
For delivering things.
Which thank goodness for that, because life would feel very different.
Yes.
If you didn't have Amazon.
Yeah, it would be a lot more driving, and it can be kind of frustrating. I did not imagine myself being in the car as much as I did.
Yeah.
But I've really learned how to narrow it down. So like one day a week, I'll make a trip to town to get stuff. But the benefit of living on a ranch and raising your animals, we are raising our food.
Yeah.
We are processing the hogs and the chickens, and we're putting meat into our freezer. And, people, it's so funny because I love my animals. I just love our one pig, Waddles, who's like 550 pounds. I just get in and give her belly rubs, and she's just the sweetest thing, and I'm like, and people on social media are like, how can you love your animals but then kill them and eat them?
Right.
And I'm like, it's hard. Like there's certain, like Waddles will never be killed.
But that out of the gate, I think, is the difference.
You do. And you don't name the animals that you're going to process. And the bottom line is because growing up, I used to, when I first met my husband, I could not even look at a chicken on the bone.
Yeah, I have a hard time with chicken.
So gross.
I can't touch raw chicken.
No, or even if it's cooked, I couldn't do it. And
here you are.
I know. It's like really bizarre that I'm able to actually process chicken now and not be completely like disturbed by it, because I know we raised them. They had the best life possible. Yeah. They were fed food that was beneficial to them, thus beneficial to us. They're not pumped full of hormones or antibiotics. It is natural food. Our beef is grass raised. Our hogs are forest raised. So I give thanks to them.
Yeah.
I give them the best life possible. I make sure that they are spoiled and well taken care of. And then we give thanks when we, have dinner. So,
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, I can't believe you do that, Brooke. But I'm like,
that's crazy.
But the nice part about it is that when I go to the grocery store, I don't have to buy meat. Like my grocery store bill is like next to nothing. So it's very handy.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
That is absolutely amazing. So let's talk about this YouTube channel.
Okay.
What's it called?
It's Freedom Ranch Homestead.
Freedom Ranch Homestead.
Yes. And we named it Freedom Ranch because during COVID, living in a city,
it was freedom.
Lockdowns, masks. And so we would go up there on the weekend and didn't have to worry about it. It was like we lived in this little bubble, and it was truly freedom. And so that's why we chose that for the name. And then Homestead, because, we want it to be like a place that we could eventually, if needed, could go off grid, like be fully independent.
I'll be there, by the way. If you're going off the grid, I'm going off the grid with you. Lord knows, I talk about it all the time. I'm like, when are we going to move to Montana or something?
And it's like when we built our house, we built it up so that the sun would face the roof line, so we could get solar and all that kind of stuff. So we thought it through. Yeah, we're just why not?
Yeah.
Why not? If we're going to be out there, be prepared and have all the creature comforts that we would need and want right there.
So let's talk about the YouTube channel
Okay,
that has tens of thousands of followers. And again, this is where I'm like watching from afar going like, wait, what is happening? Is she a YouTuber now? Like, this is the coolest thing ever. But like, what? And so how did that come to be?
So I have always filmed the kids.
Yeah.
Like I'm just constantly taking videos of the kids and photos. And so of course, when the first time we saw the property, I took a video of it.
Yeah.
And then I started putting these videos together of us going up there on the weekend and building Grumpy's garage. And I'm like posting them on YouTube for our family, our extended family who did not live. My mom lived out in California still. And, she was not in good enough shape to come out and see what we were doing.
Yeah.
Chuck's, parents, so mom was in Wisconsin. So we're like, well, we'll put it out there so that they can see it. And I just had fun putting them together.
Wow, so it was truly for your family.
It was for our family.
So cool.
Yep. And then we took it into another direction because people started subscribing.
Yeah.
And they started like saying, hey, show us more.
Because it was literally like a reality show.
It was a reality show, yes.
It still is.
Yeah. Me
And
cooking on a picnic bench for dinner,
If there's any reality show people listening, it needs to be a reality show.
So we started like kind of engaging and talking more about our dreams and what our plans were and all that kind of stuff. And so it has morphed, and we're about to hit 62,000 subscribers, which is fantastic.
Significant.
And we have people who have watched from the very beginning and comment, and that they've become like family to us, and as much as you can, distance wise. But it's fun. There's some people who are just constantly commenting, be like, hey, it's so good to see you guys.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So it's been a little bit of a community, and so it's great. And then Instagram took off for us as well.
How big is Instagram right now?
130,000 right now.
Wow,
So
I didn't realize that
there.
either. That's amazing.
It's coming along.
Oh my gosh.
So
so good.
So all of so what we have decided to do is, my husband and I sit and watch the sunset at the top of the property, and we're like, this has to be bigger than us.
Yeah.
Because this dream that we'd had of getting land, I never dreamed it would be like it is. Because this piece of property is just one in a million. I mean, it's absolutely
you're going to bring me to tears already. Like, it's never just for us,
No.
right?
No. And,
it always is in the beginning. Like, I always want to give people permission to be selfish a little bit with their vision and their dreams, because so often the dream that's going to change the world starts with your own needs.
Yeah.
And you get that met and you experience that feeling. And then you can't deny sharing it.
Yes. Yes.
So what direction is it going in?
So we've started a nonprofit. There was a charity that we worked with in Raleigh called Hope Reigns, and they rescued horses and paired them with kids who had come from abused backgrounds. And so we wanted to kind of do the same thing, but maybe expand it a little bit more. And so we have this area we call the backfield, and it's separate from our house. And it's a beautiful pasture area right by this river. And so we are going to be building, we call it the Refuge at Freedom Ranch, and that's where it's going to be located. And our goal is to have children in the area. So the area that we live in, has a lot of poverty, but it has a lot of addiction, a lot of alcohol, a lot of methamphetamine, opioid. It was where the opioid crisis began.
That's crazy.
And the unfortunate side to that is that there are a lot of kids who are suffering because of it.
Yeah. A
lot of kids who don't live with their parents, who are fortunate enough to have grandparents or an aunt and uncle who can take them in and have them there. The foster care system, I spoke, as of this process has been going on, I spoke with DSS, in Floyd County, and he explained to me there's not a lot of kids in the foster system there in Floyd County, and the reason is because there's not a lot of foster parents. Oh. There's not foster homes. So these kids who don't have relatives to live with get shipped off to other cities. Wow. So they're completely taken out of their home and to a strange place. And it is absolutely heartbreaking. And, myself growing up in a home with alcoholism, I know what they're going through. Right. Maybe not to quite the extent that they are, but I know that feeling of, lack of self-worth, rejection, when
shame.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
When a parent chooses to drink or do drugs over being their
and you
parent,
can't wrap your head around that as a child.
No, you can't. You can't understand that. You take it so personally, even though it has nothing to do typically to do with them.
Right.
It's just the addiction takes over, and so these children suffer.
Yeah.
And so, you know, what my husband and I really want to do is to be able to give these kids an opportunity to come and just have a day or a couple hours where they can learn about horses, groom them, learn about cattle if they're not into horses.
Yeah.
But our main focus is the horses. And our daughter Bree does something called I'm going to get this wrong. I think it's horse cow reining.
Yeah.
And so it's essentially ranching. You use a horse to gather your cattle or separate a cow. They do all these sorts of competitions.
It's like what you see on Yellowstone.
Yes, it's exactly what you see on Yellowstone.
So cool.
So it's fun to see her learning how to do all the spins and the runs and stops. And they call it boxing, where a cow comes out and they have to keep it contained in one end of the arena. And so we want to, if a child really finds a connection with a horse that we have, we want to give them the opportunity to learn that discipline and to train in it and then to compete in it.
Wow.
And as we travel around to competitions, my husband and I were thinking, and on our board of directors is our daughter's trainer, Skylar Lawson of Lawson Performance Horses, and he is like #1 on the East Coast.
Wow.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
He's very good, and he's young. And he's so good with Bree, he's so good with kids. And so he's on our board of directors.
So what an incredible outlet these children would have.
Yes. And he, he is very encouraged that we could have them compete on our property rather than, because we were like, how do we travel with the kids?
Yeah.
We can't.
Yeah.
It's just not possible to have them stay in a hotel and so we're like, why not bring the competitions to us? We have the land.
Yeah.
We have the area. We have the willingness. So that's kind of where it's headed, but we're still in the beginning stages of the process of forming it. So, things can morph and everything.
Yeah. But they will. They will.
Yep. And eventually, we want to, not eventually, one of the main things that we want is the kids to have access to therapy, to have access to education on, addiction and drug or alcohol use and hopefully create a strategy for prevention so that they don't go down the same avenue, that their parents are going down and that they have opportunities. And, we've posted some videos on the Refuge, and we've gotten some comments back like what good is that going to do for a kid, and like how are they going to have get a job out of that? And we had a big kind of like a opening party, and Skylar was saying look at around. We had our farrier there. Yeah, he's a horse trainer. We had another horse trainer there. There were construction people there who build these arenas.
Right. There's a whole industry around it.
There is a whole veterinarians. Yeah.
Not to mention the work ethic, the confidence, all of the skill sets, everything they would get in going down that path of opportunity versus what have they got now?
Yes, exactly. And instead, a lot of them are just sitting in their house on TV or on scrolling their phones. You know,
it's a glimpse into a world that they don't know exists.
Yeah,
and
possibilities.
You and I both know, having come from worlds of addiction, that you just don't know what you don't know as a kid. I always say it's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about Young Life. When I found Young Life, decades ago, I was blown away because I was like, if this had existed,
I know.
If I had known this world existed when I was 14, 15, 16, I may have not gone down this other path.
Yes.
But it didn't exist in my small town, just like you're saying.
Yeah.
And what I love so much, because I'm sitting back here as your good friend, seeing all these dots connect in the most beautiful way. We just talked on the drive over here that you, at one point, were going to foster children.
Yes. Yes.
That, all of these pieces of your heart, that you had no idea were going to show up when you stepped onto that property and got tears in your eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
God's orchestrating all of it.
Yes. And that's what, another woman on our board of directors who lost her son 2 years ago to an accidental fentanyl overdose. She's like, Brooke, imagine one day a young adult's going to be standing up at one of your, get-togethers and saying, "This saved my life."
Right.
And I thought, if
just
one child, then I know it was all worth it.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
No, I get it. I get it.
And I see the transformation in my daughter, who's 16 now.
Yeah.
And she is the most well-adjusted.
Yeah.
Like, I envy her. I want her childhood, you know?
Yeah.
And, that whole, like, breaking the generational cycle of addiction is so incredibly important, because I believe addiction, no doubt, is a genetic
for
thing.
sure.
But I also believe it is a learned behavior as well. I grew up with my mom drinking every night.
Yeah.
She was my best friend during the day. And then as soon as at 5 o'clock hit and I heard the ice go in the glass and the bourbon bottle open, I had no idea what to expect. In fact, I was just talking with one of my sister Allies about that. And I'm like, do you remember, like, did you feel that same way? And she's like, yeah, it was totally unpredictable. And it's not that she abused us. It's just that she just kind of disappeared and became so incredibly emotional or angry or, at my dad, and just all this fighting. And it was something. And I always said, I will not be like her.
Yeah.
I will not be like her. I will not do that.
And so many of us do.
Yes. And then and I know we had talked a little bit about this, but, when I was 12 years old, I was in a position, I was a very painfully shy girl, very painfully, but I loved to laugh.
Growing up in an alcoholic home, so there's a lot there.
Yes. Yeah. And so I was on a trip with some neighbors, and there were teenage kids. I was 12 years old, and we were floating down the Truckee River in Lake Tahoe, and they handed me a beer, and I said, I'm going to give it a try. Yeah. And that moment, it clicked. Like, I'm like, okay, now I get it why she does this every night. Like, it felt good. I felt like finally I could, like, talk to the boys. Right. I was like this whole new, like, feeling of confidence
and relaxation. I know, it's funny. I always hear people in AA meetings say, like, I felt so uncomfortable in my own skin, and then I drank and it changed everything. I'm like, I don't think that's an alcoholic thing. I think that's a teenage thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's very true. Because it's scary navigating, like, the boy things.
It's that instant anxiety release. Yes.
Yeah. 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 And so that kind of triggered me to take on my own disease, you know? And, I remember, like, you were talking about how drinking in your room and stuff like that, I would empty out a Coke can, and then I'd go into the bar and I'd mix up just a little bit of each liquor, and then go in my room, and put my music on and drink. And, I was 14 years old.
Gosh. And we had no idea the monster that we were awakening.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I just thought it was fun and innocent.
And everybody else is doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there wasn't any word. I didn't know anything about the possibility of recovery. Like, I just knew my mom's drinking created a lot of chaos in our lives. But then I understood why she did it. And like, okay, I guess it's worth the chaos, because this buzz is fun.
Right.
But I remember when I was 15, my boyfriend at the time, we'd been at a party at the beach, and he dropped me off at the front door and rang the doorbell and ran. And I was hammered.
Yeah.
And so my mom brought me in, and she held my head while I threw up. And I said, Mom, I've got a problem. And I knew at 15 that I was not normal. I definitely was obsessed with this drinking, and it was never spoken of. It was never talked about. Like, the next day, and part of me was like, oh God, I hope she doesn't bring it up, because I was like, oh, this is going to ruin my, my drinking.
I did the same thing with my mom about an eating disorder. I kind of, like, finally got the, like, guts to, like, say something, and it was minimized.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I guess we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
And we pretend that doesn't exist.
Or I guess it's not a big deal, so I'm just keep doing it.
And we don't address it, so you just continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And so I just continued.
Time.
Yeah, yeah. And if I had known that there was a different way, that there was like, that there was such a thing as recovery, that, or that there was other outlets in life that I could have gone down, that, someone could have picked me up. Because my mom, she couldn't drive me anywhere in the evenings because she was drinking, and I thank God for that.
Yeah.
There was a couple times she drove with me drunk when she picked me up, and that scared the bejesus out of me, but I was grateful that she never really did that, But I didn't I just hung out at home. So if I had had the opportunity to be able to go outside of the home and have somebody say, hey, listen, tell me what's happening in your world. And I could share openly with like, okay, my mom drinks a lot and it's really hard. And for them to be like, I get it. Like that is hard, but you don't have to do the same thing that she did.
It's that talk, for lack of a better word, talk therapy, right? Like you need to be able to just be open and share that, and to know that there's different avenues. I know the very first time I ended up going to a hip hop class, which was wildly embarrassing, probably 30 something years old. I was it's a long story. But anyway, I ended up at this hip hop class in downtown Charleston. Little did I know until the very, very end, they were like, hey, College of Charleston dance team, step up to the front. I was like, well, no wonder I feel like such an idiot. I'm in here with the freaking college dance team. But it was so many college kids. But what I remember having tears in my eyes about was this feeling that you experience through this like intense physical movement and this environment. And I remember thinking, if I had had the opportunity to do this, would I have sought that same feeling through drugs and alcohol?
Yes.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
But there were no options.
Yeah.
There were none. And what you're doing with the Refuge is an option.
It's an option. Yeah. It is an option because there's not because like I said, we live out in the middle of really nowhere. And so it would be hard for kids to get places. Yeah. And if we could organize it where they could come and have a different perspective on life and have somebody mentor them and teach them another way and have them, like, I don't know, have you spent much time around horses?
No.
Oh my gosh.
No. I mean, the little bit I have, they're amazing.
They are amazing. They are absolutely because I really didn't spend a whole lot of time, so I'm not much of a horse person, but now I have this opportunity to go down and feed them and like snuggle with them. Like they just kind of come in right behind you. Trip, the wild one, he came up one night because I can't approach him. He freaks out. Yeah. So what I do is I turn my back to him and then he comes up to me and he started lipping my ear for almost a minute. And I was just laughing. It was the sweetest thing in the whole wide world. I'm like, oh my God, little buddy. And I could hear his breath going into my ear. And it's just, they're so incredible. Loving and gentle, huge animals.
Yeah,
I mean, they can be dangerous, but
absolutely.
Yeah. But, and that's the other reason why we decided not to go with rescue horses. We want to make certain that the horses that the kids are around are broke, they're sound, there's not going to be any issues, that, anybody of any skill level can get on the back of the horse and be okay.
Be safe.
Yes, and be safe,
Wow.
So, and then, maybe down the road it'll become like a camp. We could build cabins. I mean, we've got the space to be able to do this kind of stuff.
My wheels are already turning with I'm like, you got to talk to this person I know and this person and this person.
Gosh. And that's, that's the thing is that, my husband and I have no background in nonprofit. He's a business guy. He knows business, which is great because that can help out a lot of things. But I really know nothing. I'm like, I don't know what to do here. So it's a matter
in front of the other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's putting it out there so people are aware of it. And then the people who know how to do the stuff we are praying will come into our lives and be like, okay, let me help you do this. Let me show you how you can fundraise. And that's the thing with our YouTube channel.
Yep.
Is that we are, and Instagram, any money that we get from it goes directly to the Refuge.
Wow.
So we're not taking it for our personal
you're not
well-being.
here trying to make money on being a social media influencer.
No. It's like, God has given us enough.
Yeah.
Not a huge amount, but enough to survive on and be happy and have this amazing piece of property. And so the rest we want to have go to the Refuge. And so, my husband, he's like, this is such a, it's such a unique concept. Like you can give just by watching.
Right.
Just by watching our progress.
Absolutely.
Like that is what helps.
How incredible is
fund this. And then, but obviously we're going to have to reach out and find, other avenues as well, because it's a big undertaking. We just we had a horse logger come onto our property a few months ago, and with these huge, oh God, I can't remember the name of the horses that they had. My husband's going to shoot me. But there are these beautiful brown like gargantuous horses. And
wow.
they would pull these logs that they would cut out. I mean, so strong, so incredibly beautiful.
What an incredible thing to witness.
Oh, it was amazing. It was, I mean, like we were out there all day long, just filming and watching and, you know, getting to ride on the carriage with the guy. And then we had a sawmill come in, just like we had originally done for our log home. And they cut on site all of the timber that we need to build the barn for our facility, for the refuge. And we're planning on building a 75-foot by 75-foot 8-stall barn with a 50 by 50-foot arena inside.
Wow.
So like a training area.
Yeah.
So that the kids can even in, you know, inclement weather, they can still get their time on the horses and stuff. So
that is absolutely incredible.
So that's like the next biggest project that we have.
God is orchestrating all of it. There's people out there with money looking to donate it. There's people out there with talent and time that like, where can I put my talent? Where can I put my time?
Yeah, we need it.
Such a beautiful thing. So tell me this, so everybody knows, where can they get in contact with you? Where can they follow? What's the handle on Instagram? All of that.
At Freedom Ranch Homestead.
Okay.
Freedom Ranch Homestead for both Instagram and for YouTube. Our email is freedomranchva@gmail.com.
Okay.
And our website, which we're revamping right now, is freedomranchhomestead.com.
Awesome. Well, that's easy. That's easy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah,
well, Brooke, thank you for being here today.
Moira.
This is so awesome.
And I want to say one thing real quick. Yes. I am so unbelievably proud of you and what you have accomplished. I was thinking back, and I hope this is not embarrassing, but I remember your first job.
Geez,
didn't you work like at a yacht sales place?
Oh yeah, that was my first real job in sobriety.
Yes.
I managed a yacht brokerage, which was actually kind of amazing and fun.
Yes.
But yeah, that's where it all started.
I remember that. And then you got into the advertising sales. Yes. And that's how you learned about Pilates. Yep. And so I have to share real quick that Moira transformed my life. Because I worked in commercial design, so interior architecture for office spaces.
I forgot about that.
Yes.
Now it's really all coming full circle.
And so it was a 9-to-5 job. Yeah. I mean, I loved it, but it just was like, if it was downtime, I was like sitting there. It was just, you know. And I remember we were doing a lot of running, and I started training you in running, and you were like, Brooke, you got to try this Pilates out. Yeah. You know, like,
changed my life.
You will love it. Yeah. You would be such an awesome instructor. And I just was like, I don't know, Moira. I don't know. I'm like, okay, finally you like broke me down and was like, okay, I'll come try it out. And you transformed my life. So I've been teaching Pilates 24 years now, thanks to you. So
amazing.
So you are an inspiration.
Took over my business in San Diego when I moved, which is so crazy.
That's right. So, which was a huge growth. So you've been a huge influence in my life, and I know in many other women's lives as well. So I just pray that you keep on going because you're doing the right thing. You were on the right track, girl.
Thank you, sister. Yay. Amazing. Oh, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for coming down.
Yeah.
You guys make sure that you follow Brooke, you follow Freedom Ranch Homestead on all the platforms. And we'll put all of that in the show notes, and share this episode, tag your friends, send it to your friends, and we will see you next week.